Welcome to Linux Shell Commands tutorial part 2. In part 1 of this tutorial, we discussed the shell commands pwd, ls, cd, cat, mv, mkdir, cp, rm, rmdir, clear, less, tail, head, man, and info. In part 2 of this tutorial, we will discuss wc, grep, date, cal, which, hostname, history, gzip, gunzip commands. We will discuss wc command first. Let's start the terminal. We need to launch the terminal first. Let's do that. Let me move the terminal to the center of the screen. Let's see what we have in our directory ls-l. So we have several text files. wc is a command that we use for counting number of words, number of lines, number of characters in a given text file. wc stands for word count. So let's count first this file here, cities.txt. Enter wc followed by the file name. In this case, the file name is cities.txt and press enter. So you can see the output here, output of this command. It has 4 columns. The first column shows the number of lines in this file, cities.txt. Second column shows the number of words. Third column shows the number of characters. And fourth column is the name of the file itself. So we can also give multiple file names. Let's say cities.txt and countries.txt. So it will count the lines, words, and characters in each of these files. As you can see, it's showing 3 lines here because the third line is the totals line. First 2 lines give the counts for each of the files respectively. And the third line adds up the counts and gives you the total. So that's wc. And you can also specify wildcard characters. You can, for example, give wc space star.txt. Star represents a wildcard character, which means it can be any name: cities, countries, Darwin, Kelvin, files, any name is matched with star. Anything that's in front of .txt is used as an input to wc. So press enter there, and you can see it counted the lines, words, and characters in each of these files and also provided the total at the end. We can also specify other flags with this wc command. For example, if you specify wc minus l, it will only count the lines in each of these files. So it's got only 2 column output here, number of lines and the file name, and the total number of lines in all the files put together. We can also do this for counting the number of words by specifying w flag, wc minus w, and the file names, I'm considering all the file names star.txt. So we have 4,371 words in all. And you can also, of course, count the characters, wc minus l space star.txt, and press enter. So we have 115,772 total characters across all these text files. So that is wc command. It's pretty useful. The next command we are going to discuss is grep. If you want to search for the existence of a pattern in a given text file, you can use grep command. Let's list all the text files that we have in our directory here. So we have these text files, and let's just cat and see the contents of countries.txt. Okay, we have country name and 2-digit ISO code. Let's say we want to see all the countries in this file that have T and U in their name. Okay, so we will do that by using grep command as follows. So as you can see, grep returned the lines that contained this pattern. We're looking for the pattern TU in this file countries.txt. Grep command looks for that pattern in this file here countries.txt and return the lines that have the matching pattern. In this case, this line Tunisia, Turkey, Turkmenistan, Turks and Caicos Islands match that pattern. So that's what it returned. Let's do another example. Let's look for all the countries that have U in their name. That pattern. You see, there are these countries that have that pattern in the name. So grep again searched this countries.txt file, looking for this pattern UN. See this pattern, and it returned the lines that are matching that pattern. So all these countries have UN in their name. And also, grep has many flags that you can use, options or flags. So for example, if I want to do a case instance to matching within this file, I can specify like this. Grep by default does case sensitive matching. So if I want to turn off that case sensitiveness and specify to grep that it should ignore case, then the flag that I need to use for that is grep -i. And following that flag, we specify the pattern that it should look for, and we provide also the file name. So if you do that, now it brought more names because in this grep here, it only matched all the countries that have uppercase U and lowercase n in the pattern. But when you turned off the case sensitiveness, when we told grep that it should ignore the case, it actually returned many more lines because, as you can see, all these countries have UN either in uppercase or in lowercase, and all of those lines are returned to us in the result. So grep is also a very useful command, and there are many options with grep. If you do man grep, you can see we have so many different options. Uh, it's uh, it's going to take a 1 hour video if we just cover half of these options. So, you know, we should explore options of grep. Grep is really powerful and it's widely used for text processing within Linux shell scripts. The next command we're going to discuss is date. So date with no options shows you today's date, and, and it also shows you today's date in the time zone where this computer is running. In my case, it is Eastern Daylight Saving Time Zone since I'm on the East Coast. Date command, like many other Unix commands, Linux commands, has many different flags. For example, if you use date minus u, it will show you the time in GMT, Greenwich Mean Time Zone, or UTC. Greenwich Mean Time and UTC are one and the same. Uh, Also, there are other options. For example, you can type in date minus minus date equals to and specify. For example, let's say we want to know what is the date 20 years ago. You can specify this. And it gives you the date 20 years ago. Today is Sunday. Now, if you want to look at, let's say, instead of years 20 months ago, what is the date? It tells you that. It's pretty convenient. This date, you can do many different things. For example, 20 days ago. So it tells you what it is, right? It's very useful and convenient. I use it for many different things on command line. Another command that is also very useful from the command line is cal. If you just give cal, it shows you current month. But if you, let's say, give cal and 10, it shows you the calendar of the year 10. If you give cal 2021, it shows you the calendar of this year. If you give calendar 100, year 100, calendar for year 100, it's pretty cool. And if you just give cal, it gives you current month. But if you want to see the 3-month calendar, you can do this. So you get 3 months, 1 month back, 1 month forward. And you can also specify month and year. For example, you want to know the calendar for 10 in 1510, let's say. So this is the calendar for the month of October in the year 1510. So this is also very useful command line tool. And if you want to print the entire calendar for year 1510, you just specify cal on the year. It just gives you that calendar. Like anything else, if you man, you can see many other options that are available for this, and you should really explore to learn about other options. You can either do man or info, and you should be able to see the information. The next command we are going to discuss is which. In Linux, each of the commands that we execute have a program associated with them. For example, ls command has a program sitting somewhere on this machine, and if you want to know the location where that ls command is stored, the program for that ls command is stored, you use this which command to figure that out. So if you type in which space in the command name, you would get the response. So ls, the program that is behind the ls command, is in /user/bin directory. Most of the commands are stored in /user/bin directory. Let's check another, for example, maybe history. It's another command, which history. Oh, this is internal, so it's not showing that. There are some commands that are implemented by shell itself. So for such commands, there won't be any location because there is no program behind them. The shell itself implements some commands, and those commands are known as internal commands. And other commands are external commands. So those are implemented by uh, by other programs. For example, PWD is implemented by this PWD program, which is stored in /user/bin folder. So which is basically used to figure out where the program related to the current command is stored. So PWD is stored in /user/bin directory. The next command that we would discuss is host name. If you want to know the name of your current computer, you just have to type in host name. And in my case, this computer is named Asus Mint 20. So it just displays the name of the computer, Linux computer that this shell is running on. So as far as the shell is concerned, this is the host, Asus Mint 20. So when you type in host name, it shows you this. Then the next command we're going to discuss is history. All the commands that you're executing here are stored in the history buffer of this shell. You can bring back the previous commands that you executed by using arrow keys on your keyboard. For example, if I do arrow, it keeps on showing you the previous commands that we executed. But if you want to see all the commands that were there in the history, so we can just type in history and it shows you all the commands that were previously executed. For example, if you want to only see the last 10 commands, you can give history 10. So it shows you the last 10 commands that were executed. So there, it's quite useful so that it saves you some typing. For example, if you want to re-execute, let's say, a command that was previously entered, the previous command, you just have to give exclamation mark, exclamation mark. It executes the previous command, in our case, it's going to be history 10, right? So it re-executed that command. Similarly, if you want to re-execute a command that was executed 5 commands ago, you can do exclamation mark and number representing that command. Uh, Five, right? -5 because whatever was 5 commands ago. So if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which history is 5 commands ago? So that is what it is showing you here, right? So if you want to see what was that command that you executed 5 commands ago, you can do that. Let's say you want to execute clear, right? In the history, you can give exclamation mark and the number 2, 9, and it executed clear command. So history is also quite useful. And you can access the previous commands using your up arrow, down arrow keys on your keyboard, or you can just use exclamation mark and go to that command. You can show the command previous commands by just entering history, typing in history and entering, pressing enter, right? History and press enter. It shows you all the previous commands. So that's pretty useful too. The next command we will discuss is grep, Grep. This command compresses files. For example, we have ls-l_txt. We have txt. We have these text files here, and look at the size of this last text file. It's more than 3 MB in size. It's got 3 million plus bytes. As you can see, this is a file size here, right? So if you want to compress this file, you would give this gzip command with that argument revenue.txt, and now it has compressed that file, and after compressing that file, it will add .gz as the extension. It renames the file actually. So if you now see ls-l star.txt, you do not see the compressed file because it's got a new name now. So if you see here, it added gz at the end of revenue.txt. So it not only compressed the original file and created this file, it also deleted the original file. So you only now have compressed file. If you look at the compression, it has done a really impressive compression. So compression saves space, right? It was 3 million plus bytes here uncompressed if you see here, right? If you look at the size here, 3 million plus bytes got compressed into 17,071 bytes. So it's a lot of compression. It's a very good compression ratio there, right? Now we have this file that is compressed. If you want to uncompress this, you have to use another command. That command is gzip. And if you type in gzip and give it the file name to be uncompressed, you don't have to give the full file name. You just have to give whatever is the component before .zz. So if you do this now, press enter, and it uncompressed that file. If you do ls-l, you can see that the file has been uncompressed, and if you look at the original size, it was 3,131,400 bytes, and when it got compressed, it only had 17,071 bytes. And now, when we uncompressed it using gzip, we now have 3,131,400 again. So that's how you do compressing and uncompressing of the files. One other thing that I want to mention regarding gzip, as you saw previously when we compressed revenue dot text using gzip, it actually deleted a revenue.txt file, right? Supposing you want to keep both the compressed file and uncompressed file, then you have to give this -k flag, right? Gzip -k revenue.txt and press enter. Now if you do ls-l, you see revenue.txt is there, right? The uncompressed version. Also, you have the compressed version. So you have the original file and also the compressed file. So as with any Linux command, you should explore the options of these commands by giving man command, man gzip or gunzip, whichever you want to explore more, you can do. And you can see there's so many more options available, right? So many more flags available. So yeah, most of the Linux commands have many different options available, many different flags you can specify, and you should always check and explore using either man or info commands, right? You can do a man page listing of any command by using man, also info listing using info command.